I don't even remember my intro. All right, we're winging it. We're winging it. And we're not going to be aggressive about this. Hopefully. It's so hard. It's so hard to come home and do like a first reaction. And you're like, you want to be calm and you want to look at the camera and you're like, oh, no, it's fine. It's okay. It wasn't that bad. Everything that you guys are hoping for was, it succeeded. But you can't, because what you really want to do is come home and be like, fuck every single person on that writer's board that looked at this movie and said, this is great. This is what the reboot of the franchise needs. Swimming and Popcorn. Welcome back to... Oh my God. Hey guys, welcome back to Swimming and Popcorn. I just got home from the theaters. This is my kind of first reaction, first thoughts on Scream 7. Coming from the top of my head. Normally I type this stuff out, read it to you guys. Everything's typically scripted on my channel, so bear with me on this. I went to see Scream 7 tonight with a couple people. God bless their eardrums, because the whole drive home, I essentially ranted about the things I did not like about this film. And now I'm going to share those with you. So Scream 7. Scream 7 is here. Wish I could say hooray. Scream 7 is not a bad film, but it's not a good film at all. It's bland. It's soulless. This is not, if you're hoping to watch this right now and get my first impressions, that's going to pump you up to go see Scream 7 right now with all your friends, you're going to be super disappointed. So the intro, it's cool, I guess. Fuck, how do you even do this without spoilers? I don't even know how to talk to you guys about this film, my first reactions, because everything that I want to tell you about this film needs to be in a spoiler review, not this spoiler-free first thought. So this is already complicated enough. The intro, the Scream series is known for its intro. The original film, which I did watch last night before going to see this, we get Halle Berry. It's iconic. The scary movies have mocked this for that reason. The intro of this film felt like we were going to get something kind of new age, Airbnb type situation. It's boring. Scream 7's biggest flaw is that it's boring. It doesn't do anything new, and the entire film's point was to pull on these nostalgic strings that the first entries in the film did, and it gets you nowhere. There's no reward for this film. How do we talk about this intro without spoiling it? Imagine a new age Scream 1 intro that's very meta. Mocks itself. Check that box off. It's a couple of faces that you're not really going to give a shit for the rest of the film or for any of the future films, and that's okay. Scream 7 does everything technically right. We've got chase scenes, we've got kills, we've got the suspect list, we've got Sidney Prescott, we've got a couple of other familiar faces, which once again, I don't want to spoil. I didn't watch too many of the trailers. I think I watched the last trailer, the final trailer, so I'm not quite sure who's in some of the other ones or even the promoted stuff, the ads. I don't know. I don't want to ruin this for you guys. So anyways, it checks off all the boxes, but once again, it's soulless. When we get to the final act, which I know I feel like I'm bouncing around, just bear with me. When we get to the final act of the film, it completely falls apart. Everything about it sucks. And I'm just going to give it to you straight. It sucks. And not only do we get to the end of this film after almost a 2-hour ride, we're not falling from grace. We're not at an 8 or a 9 out of 10, right? It wasn't a slow or even speedy momentum that built all the way up to this great height and then we fall from grace. It's just mediocre at best. I mean, we're talking a 4 or 5 out of the whole film just to get to the end of the film and really just, you fall off the cliff. I wish we could say we started as a snowball that eventually just turned into this big giant avalanche, and it's not. It just sucks. It sucks. I'm going to be straight with you guys. This movie sucks as a Scream film, and it sucks as a regular film. I think one thing that I was complaining in the car about was that every good Scream film, which is, in my opinion, all of them, I guess you could say 3 was the worst, but now we have 7, so... But with every good Scream film, you have a suspect list of who did it, or who is doing it, or how many. 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, and that's what made this franchise so successful. We get through this film, and every time you think, okay, I know who's doing it, or I know which people are doing it, they die. And that's common. That's what makes Scream so successful in the first place. You cross them off your list, you see who's left, and you keep going from there as the film is developing. By the time we get to the end of this film, which once again, I know I'm jumping straight to the end, but I want to explain the journey there as we come back. I'm going to kind of flip-flop around here, but we get to the end of this film, and you realize that every suspect on your list that you could even give a damn about or had a point or maybe a good motive to be the killer in the first place are gone. And you lose this momentum, you lose this excitement of getting your normal list in the first place down and down and down, and down's not the right word, but as you're crossing your suspects off, you get this joy of lowering that number of people it could be, and it builds this anticipation for a final act. And once we got to the final act of this film, you realize that anybody that made a damn bit of sense to be the killer or have a motive in the first place is dead and gone. Or another fun fact, they just disappear. You get some of these legacy characters that show up at the beginning of the film and you feel like they have a good point to the plot just for them to either get fucking murked off quick, or they just disappear and conveniently come back after the climax of the film is over, after the finale has happened. And you're like, where the fuck were you for the past 30 minutes? It's just dumb. This is one of those things where, unlike Strangers Chapter 3, it's not dumb in the sense of we didn't know how to get from point A to B and get the characters there, so somehow some act of God just happened and shit lined up perfectly. It's not that kind of dumb. It's the kind of dumb where you're like, this isn't believable. Right? Like how many times can you get hit in the head with a fucking baseball bat and keep getting up? Right? How many times, and I'm going to try and keep the spoiler free once again, but how many times can you get stabbed and keep going? And I noticed this in Scream 6, that one of our main characters got stabbed over and over and over again. And I get maybe that's just part of this franchise. Maybe we need to acknowledge that you do have to have some kind of, what do they call it? Like a suspension of belief or suspension of reality. I get that. There's only so far I'm willing to go before you sit back and you have to say, this is fucking dumb. Either kill the guy or kill the woman or don't. Right? Keep them alive, keep them moving, or just get over with it. I don't know. It's just dumb in the sense of you're expecting me to completely disassociate with reality in itself. How can we be watching a horror movie that's meta and self-aware, but at the same time wants you to cover your eyes and be like, I don't see that. I can't believe that. It doesn't make sense. What are some spoiler-free points that I could share with you guys? Maybe we can start back with the intro. It's not that the intro is bad. It's just that the intro is boring. Yes, just like all the other Scream films in the franchise, you are getting pop culture references. You're getting callbacks to other Scream films in general. But I think maybe the best point I can make about this film, especially the intro, is that it's not that it's bad. It's just not very good. It feels more like we're watching a stab movie than a Scream movie. Scream 4 in a way, except a lot worse. It feels like we are watching an in-universe stab movie that's disguising itself as a Scream film, and you're just waiting for two characters to all of a sudden be on the couch watching the same intro we were, and it never happens. You never get sucked out of the stab movie and put into the Scream movie, and it makes you go, oh shit, okay, I get it now. It's just a continuous snooze fest. Let's talk about the kills. Boring as shit. I don't get me wrong, I get it. If you're fighting for your life, there's going to be a lot of wrestling, there's going to be a lot of grunting, there's going to be a lot of running, but at the same time, that's not what we get in this film, unlike the previous films, especially, once again, watching the first last night. What this feels like to me is that I'm watching a WWE SmackDown Raw, right? If you, and maybe I'm assuming, but for me personally, if someone is trying to take my life, it's not just about what weapons I have in my hand. Everything in that room is a weapon. Vases are weapons. A dresser is a weapon. Even when I'm losing momentum myself, just like the movie. It's like Ghostface picks someone up, slams them on the table. They get up, slam Ghostface on the table. He hits them with the bat. They hit him with the bat. And I'm not saying that this is actually what happens, but it just feels very tick for tack. There's no suspense here. There's no holy shit, how do you get out of this situation? You know what it kind of feels like? It feels like those old cartoons where you're looking down a hallway and somebody runs out of this door and then somebody comes out of this door and then somebody comes out of this door. It just feels it feels like a pattern, you know? And the kills themselves, when someone finally does die, it's boring. It's not creative. You know, there's maybe 2 kills in this entire film that are remotely even fun to watch, and one of them, just when you're about to start clapping your hands and be like, holy shit, this is what I love about Scream, the camera cuts to this kind of weird side angle and it looks so stupid and cheesy, you know. And Sidney Prescott, it's like she doesn't know who to be in this film. in my opinion. One second, she's this hardened mother who is going to almost be overbearing to a point where, not helicopter parent style, but it's almost like she's determined that her daughter is not going to end up her way. Makes sense, right? I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Just like President Prescott doesn't know what type of mom she wants to be. She doesn't know how to parent this girl. It's like one second we have this coming of age story, and then the next second we have this cliche, my mom is just never gonna let me grow up. I don't know. It's just dumb. It's boring. It's boring. All of this will make sense if you watch my next review because it's going to be chock full of spoilers. This is all going to come together, and I'm sure, once again, this is my initial reaction. Maybe it's a little over-emotional, but I truly feel like if I could express to you with examples, all of this would make sense. However, why do we bring back these legacy characters, right? And I'm not saying we bring them back to kill them off or we bring them back for any other reason other than pulling on your heartstrings because the writers didn't know what kind of fucking story they wanted to tell in the first place. And even when we start to get an idea of the story they wanted to tell, it's like they don't know how to do that successfully. And I know there's been a lot of drama from Scream 6 to Scream 7. They lost a lot of their two main lead casts. Now they've got to bring back Neve Campbell and give her a ginormous bank bag just to get her on board with this script. And maybe at that point, I don't blame them. I would be the same way because what else can you do? It's like we're going for this soft reboot of the franchise, a Halloween 2018 style, but it's just dog shit. It's got all of the boxes checked off for a Scream film. We've got all of the key ingredients, and yet we've got no soul, and we've got no success in recreating what made this franchise the franchise that it is in the first place. And so we bring back these legacy characters, hoping that maybe they can pick up the pen and write a better script, but it just never happens. It's boring. And not only is it boring, it's very forgettable. Even with the legacy characters themselves, it's forgettable. It's sad when no one in the theater is clapping. This wasn't a Spider-Man No Way Home moment where you see Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield come up and the theater erupts, which I know these are different films. But the point I'm making is we have a franchise where we're bringing back so many people and nobody gives a shit because the momentum's just not there. The writing is not there. And I'm sure people watching this right now are going to say, wow, I think we saw this different movie because I love Scream 7. And that's okay. You can love it. But this is a stain on the franchise legacy. This was not a good Scream film. And it sure as shit not a good film in general. I could live with that if this wasn't for the fact that, once again, the movie is entertaining and it's holding its momentum all the way to the end of the film and then falls off. But at best, from start to finish, it's a solid 5 out of 10, maybe 6 out of 10, and then it completely goes off the rails. Even the final act itself is terrible. It's just cheesy. And it's, once again, it's one of those situations where people just won't die. And I know that sounds dumb, but if you're doing things that are going to have these characters in real life die and they're not dying, why do it at all? Why not just extend the fight scene with, your antagonist and protagonist trading blows that are realistic? I feel like everything that I'm saying right now doesn't have the substance either. I feel like I'm being exactly what makes Scream 7 not a good film in the first place. I'm saying a whole lot of things that doesn't really say much at all. And when I write the review for this film, I think that'll definitely make a lot more sense. Right now, this might be a little hard to follow along with, but the true problem with Scream 7 is that no matter how many legacy characters we bring back, no matter how much we want to reboot this franchise, no matter how self-aware this movie wants to be like all the other films in this franchise, it's soulless. And you have to sit back and say, was it really worth all of the drama that came after Scream 6 just to end up here? Was there really no way forward other than soft rebooting this franchise with what we have? What that leaves us with is a finale that is so unsatisfying that it will stain the legacy of this franchise. I'm sure some people are going to like this, but what made Scream so special was the concept of always trying to figure out who's done it and the motive. I mean, the whole franchise was built off of there's rules to surviving a horror film. Everyone's a suspect. But when you go through your list of everyone and there's no one left, the writers at some point have to pick somebody. And this very much feels like they just drove through town and said, you you're going to be the killer for absolutely no fucking reason. And when they have to make a reason, you know it's going to be terrible. There's nothing organic. This film doesn't feel like a natural flow to the franchise itself. Once again, Scream 7 is not a bad film. It's just not a good film. It's not a great film. That's pretty much what you could say. It's Scream 7. That's the nicest thing you could say. It's got Ghostface in it. It does have a finale. You know, it's got a start, middle, and end. It's just a solid 6 out of 10 film for me. And what a disappointment that is. Another point I made in the car I want to bring up real fast. We took Halloween Ends, and I say we as fans of the franchise, not just Halloween, but the horror genre in general, and we massacred them for taking the franchise that we loved and making a film that really shit on all of the rest. And once again, I'm not defending Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends has its problems. But what they did do was take a formula and try and mix it up. Maybe instead of using baked chicken, they used grilled steak or they used steamed tofu. But what they did was try to deliver something unique. And Scream 7 is everything but unique. Scream 7 checks off the boxes of what made all the other films in the franchise successful and still feels like a hollow shell of itself. It's disappointing, guys. I'm not saying don't go see it. We definitely should support the franchise. I'm just letting you know, keep those expectations in check because this is not the direction that the franchise needs to head into. I don't know. I'm going to cut this short only because, A, I'm not quite good at these out-of-theater reactions yet, but B, I really don't want to spoil something for you, and I want to take my time over the next few days to write this review. Just remember, guys, stay safe out there. I appreciate you listening. Give me a couple days. I promise I'll get this review written. While you may not like or agree with my scores, you can tell me to take my opinions and shove it up my ass. I at least will have something more constructed with this by being able to express examples of why I say the things about this film that I say. So just remember, stay safe out there, and more importantly, stay munchin', stay crunchin', and I'll see you next time. This is Swimming in Popcorn signing off.